My name's Chris. I'm the Belly Up Racing department head. I pretty much watch over all your guys' articles. I edit them, and I try to get you to where I don't have to do that as much. And me and Trey got together. We decided we were going to start a kind of a visual broadcast, podcast type of deal. We're going to stream some NASCAR heat once we get the Twitch and YouTube live stuff figured out a little more. But tonight we're going to kind of give you guys a basic run over of what we expect out of the show, what you can expect. So, what did you think about the Kansas race? I thought that was pretty interesting leading down to the end. I make no complaints. I'm a Chase Elliott fan. I live like an hour north of where he's from. I've been a Bill Elliott fan as a kid, so I am I guess you could say an Elliott bandwagoner in a sense, but not in a sense.
Yeah, I got you. Just a little introduction to myself. I'm just your basic belly up racing go-getter, whatever they need me to do or whatever we can come up with, I get into. But I'm Trey Farley. And what you were talking about there, Chris, the Kansas playoff race, I'm like you. Growing up, I liked the Belly. I'm not quite as big a fan as you, I'm sure, because I'm from Ohio, so a little further away. But I was a Gordon guy growing up, so seeing William Byron actually run up there was pretty exciting for me. I mean, second year in the Cup Series, and now he's finishing top 5, top 10 almost every race. So he may not be winning, but the dude is collecting points quicker than just about anyone else.
Yeah, and I think he's on a good page, too. He's got Chad Knaus now. Chad's a solid addition to William because I think he can I think William could be as good as Jimmy. I mean, I know that's saying a lot this early in his career, but if he has the right leadership to guide him, I think he'll be fine, which he is. He looked like a threat to win that race early on. I don't know what happened late in the race, but he had me a little worried about Chase's playoff chances if he won that race. So,
well, I'm sure you were more worried about Brad Keselowski anyways.
Yeah, Brad falling at the end definitely didn't make my Sunday, any better at all. I liked watching that happen because my man made it to Martinsville, which I think is going to be a solid race for him, so much more than Texas and Phoenix.
That's unless he puts him in the wall again there in turn 4 like he did there a few years back.
Well, we're going to hope that don't happen.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, no one wants to see that, but, when you're racing for a championship like that, what else are you going to do? Just like Logano with that bump and run it on Truex last year.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then to go on and win the championship. Martinsville is going to be a good race, I think. It's the exciting race in this. I won't say in this round of 8 because I feel like Phoenix and ISM, whatever they're calling it now, because I think it's ISM, I think it could be just as equally exciting. But I think Martinsville is going to lead to the most drama.
And I would agree. I'm not a big fan of ISM. I don't like it on heat. I don't like watching it on TV. Texas. I know the 1.5-mile cookie cutter tracks aren't everyone's favorite, but man, I love them. I went to Kentucky Speedway for the first time this year. First time I went to a NASCAR race. Man, I mean, 1.5 miles is so much longer than you think, and those cars are coming 170 into the turn. I mean, it's racing to me. It's not quite the super speedway where they have to draft to keep up, but there's still a lot of beating and banging like you see at the short tracks.
Well, if you ever get a chance to go to Daytona or Talladega, I suggest it highly. I've never been to Talladega. I know it's a different animal, but I've been to Daytona, and Daytona was amazing. So I've not been to which is bad for me, but I live about an hour and 15 minutes north of Atlanta. I've never been to Atlanta.
Okay.
So I've been to Bristol and I've been to Daytona, and we're looking at going to Darlington next year for like a guys weekend, for throwback weekend. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And then just because you're talking about next year, our planned meeting that Mike hit us up about there a while back, going to Michigan International Speedway. I mean, I think we went on a business trip up there for, my actual job, I'll call it that, even though I'd rather be doing this full time. We went up there for a business trip just north of it, and we passed the sign. So it's about 6 hours north of me. So I can only imagine how far of a drive that is for you.
Yeah.
Probably a flight.
It's about 10.5 hours driving. We looked it up, me and my wife. We were talking about it because that's something I want to do, but I got to make sure that I can do it first off since it's such a big haul for me. And we do have 2 kids under the age of 5, so
I mean, it's enough to handle as it is, alone trying to make a trip that far away, from your wife and kids. I mean, if you brought them with you, that would be a whole nother demon in of itself. But I mean, it's NASCAR racing, man. There's no bad way to go about it from what I can tell so far.
Yeah, now I completely agree with you. So, what do you think is going to happen this weekend, Martinsville? What do you see? I know you got your typicals. You got Denny. Denny's a good Martinsville racer. You've got, I would say Jimmy Johnson, but that's a topic we'll discuss in another time. I wrote an article hitting on him, a few months back. I don't think he's quite done, but he's working towards that. Who do you think is going to be your contender? Do you think it's going to be a playoff driver locking up a chance, or do you think it's going to be somebody else?
I think because it's that first opportunity to lock in a shot at the Champ 4,
Yeah.
wouldn't put it past Logano. Like we said just a few seconds ago, he's done it before. Truex would be the one I'd watch because he kind of got the short track bug worked out there, and after several years, don't even know how many it was before he won there. I would expect him to be up front. And honestly, just because we mentioned him before and he's been such a hot ticket here recently, William Byron would be my dark horse, I guess you'd say, which, I mean, a little late for his championship host, but I think he could still get a win being at the greatest track for Hendrick Motorsports in all of NASCAR.
Yeah, I think that's a solid option. I think somebody you need to watch him other than William is Brad Keselowski. He ran the good there in the spring. He's a solid thing. I actually, while we're talking about it, I looked it up earlier. I do the fantasy stuff pretty heavy. We got an agency thing at the sheriff's department where I work, little agency fantasy league. Brad is actually second to only Kyle Busch in average finishes in the last 5 races there. He's got 2, and he's got 2 wins out of the last 5. So I think you need to watch Brad. He's going to be looking for a rebound this week, especially after falling out of the playoffs last. And then, not to toot my own horn as an Elliott fan, but Chase ran there pretty good in the spring too. So I think Chase will be decent at least. If he's going to play and advanced, I think this will be his best chance because I don't think he's had the speed at Texas or really at ISM.
And I would agree with you there. I think Chase Elliott's kind of like Brad. I mean, I know you mentioned both of them there in the same sentence, but they're both similar in the fact that, I mean, no matter what track they show up to, those guys are going to be competitive.
Yeah.
Which is huge for both of those race teams. But like you said, Brad got knocked out last week, so maybe it's not as much a push for him. But something I read a lot and I hadn't really thought about before was there's still a chance to get in the top 10 in points, which, at the end of the year is a big deal. It gets you more money, more sponsors and whatever. But
yeah,
we're focused on the guy who's going to finish first in the year. There's 9 other guys in between that are racing for just as much money and fame when you really get down to it.
Yeah, and you don't really know anymore how much money they're going to lose because NASCAR quit reporting that a few years back. So you're not going to see what they gain or what they lose. Unfortunately, media guys in a way, but I think you're right. I think you need to keep an eye on some of the, people that have gotten kicked out. Even people like Kurt Busch. I think Kurt Busch has still got something to prove. Speaking of Kurt, I had him in my championship 4, but we won't discuss that too much. That was kind of a bad decision.
I
thought he was going to be a little better, but
and the thing that surprised me is, well, I went to like I said, the Kentucky race where Kurt just barely nudged out his brother Kyle, but that's someone we haven't mentioned yet that really was kind of slow there in the first couple rounds. And then Kansas, he finished 3rd, and a hot finish there at Talladega. Even though, despite the wreck, he finished.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's going to give you more points than taking it to the garage like he did there at the Roval and finishing almost dead last.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think Kyle, I actually, my fantasy league at the sheriff's department, Kyle is who I have winning the championship. And I've seen something the other day, which I know, trust me, I'm not a big Kyle Busch fan, but I seen something the other day. His championship year, his last win was the exact same last win as this year, and it was his 4th win. Going into Homestead, he won his 5th race of the year and won the championship. He's looking for his 5th win in these next coming weeks, so you need to watch out. If he gets that 5th win at Homestead, if he makes it to that 4, he's your champion. So it could be kind of like a luck sense for that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but we also know that the past is not a good predictor of future success.
Especially not NASCAR. I completely agree with you on that.
No, but I agree with you. I'm not sure about the Homestead being his 5th win, but I definitely think that he's a threat there at ISM to guarantee himself a shot at the championship because he won there in the spring, constantly top 5, top 10 guy there. Really, one of his worst tracks would probably be Texas out of those 3, and to say worst is really underselling it because the dude doesn't really finish much lower than 10th or 15th on his worst day.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's whether you like him or you hate him, you can't deny he's got talent. He's one of the best in the sport, unfortunately.
And that brings up a point there. I was watching the other day a video about Dale Earnhardt, and
Mm.
people were talking about how hated he was. Surprisingly, like he was booed at Charlotte there earlier on before he became, like the king of it all and the man in black. But Kyle Busch is eerily similar in his career. A lot of people don't like him, a lot of people do, but you can't deny he wins races.
Yeah,
That's
no,
his
yeah.
number one priority.
I completely agree with you on that. So let's touch on this championship 4 a little bit. I'll go over who you picked here on this graphic. So
Half of them are gone.
we've got Denny Hamlin, which is looking pretty good. I like that pick. I don't like Denny necessarily as a driver. Can't deny him, but you got Kevin Harvick, and then you got Kurt Busch and William Byron. You're like me. You got two guys that are no longer in it anymore. But you still got two that are making solid runs here late in this playoff field. How you feeling about those choices now that you've lost two, but you got two left?
Well, I mean, I kind of picked those. I like both those drivers. I mean, Kurt, I've liked him back since his days with Roush. But those are kind of like my dark horse picks. I didn't want to be that guy that actually picked the four he thought he was going to win. I'm trying to start something up here, conversation and whatnot. But
Yeah.
as Truex fan here since day one, since he got into the Cup Series, well, even back in his Busch days, but very confident in Denny Hamlin. He knows how to win races when he needs to. The question is, can he do it at Homestead? I think he'll make the Champ 4 100%.
Yeah.
I'm confident in him winning. I have more faith in Kevin Harvick. He's been more consistent all year. He's won a few races, and I mean, it's Kevin Harvick. He's done it before. Why can't he do it again?
You can't be saying that. My dad's a Kevin Harvick fan. I won't be able to live that down.
Oh, you have to live with it, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be Harvick or Hamlin. I would say Byron if he was still in it, just because we mentioned Chad Knaus. I mean, Jimmy didn't win 7 championships by himself.
Yeah, no.
So going with Hamlin.
Well, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not doing much better than you. I had Keselowski and Kurt, and then I had Kevin and Kyle in my 4. So I lost Keselowski last week, and I lost Kurt a little while back. So, which Kurt was shocking me after that Kentucky win. He was consistent really well until he won at Kentucky. And then it was almost like his consistency fell off in a sense. He just lost his, I wouldn't say groove, but he lost what he was doing, and he just didn't have that consistent touch anymore on every track he was consistent at earlier in the season. And so that was kind of shocking to me.
I don't follow it too well, but I understand, I guess, that they run different packages at each track in like the spring and fall race. So, I mean, Kentucky being a one-stop shop like that, where you just go in once, someone like Kurt Busch, who's a good driver, but maybe, and Chip Ganassi is one of those, well, in Heat, they're 5-star teams, so we'll go off the Heat's rankings since that's what we're all about here. But
yeah,
it's not your Hendrick. They just don't have the same exact stuff because Ganassi's like Penske, he's spread out across several different forms of racing.
Yeah.
But I think Kurt, as much as I'd say I got lucky there and got the win because, I mean, he just barely beat his brother. But I was with you. I mean, he was consistent, not winning races, not really finishing, the bridesmaid, but he was a top 10 guy and was gathering points to seal himself in, but lost him there in the first round.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I really think I'm a Chase Elliott fan, so the fan in me wants him to be in that championship 4, and anything can happen. But let's just be honest. I'm with you. I think Hamlin's a solid pick. I really think you need to watch Harvick and Hamlin. They're the two big guys. I think Hamlin's just gotten hot at the right time, and someone that's a sleeper pick is Larson. If he can make it to Homestead, he's always good at Homestead. I know you hear that week in and week out on the broadcast, but Larson is solid at Homestead. He's got some of the best stats at Homestead, and if he's in the championship 4, I don't doubt that he would not be afraid to wall that car once or twice to win a championship.
I might have to agree with you too.
Yeah, I mean, so I've not gotten into it, but I've been getting into NASCAR Heat a little more and more since the new ones came out. I really enjoy 4. I liked 3. I like the addition of the dirt racing because I like that. I like to slide around in the trucks. That's kind of fun for me.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about this, the Heat Pro Series finale tonight?
I mean, it's not the biggest news in NASCAR, which is understandable because I know esports, a lot of people don't validate that.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same as the guys on the track, but I actually just watched a video. I'm trying to remember what company it was. Sunoco, actually. They did a competition between Bubba Wallace and two iRacers, and the iRacers beat him on the sim by like 2 seconds on it, not 2 seconds, but like 200ths of a second on his laps, and they were within range on him on the Legends car there too. Uh, but obviously those guys aren't in it. That's Richmond Raceway's team is who he was racing against. Bubba was, but JR Motorsports is still in the Heat 4 Pro League. Team Penske, Levine Family Racing's in there too, and Stuart Haas. So you're talking about big names within the actual NASCAR industry that are backing these guys that play PlayStation, Xbox, like you and I, which
Yeah.
I talk about the Xbox guys, but I
Yeah.
think honestly Junior Motorsports because Dale Jr.'s been a huge sim guy since day one. Whenever they first started back in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
so these guys might have an edge that a lot of people don't think about, if you ask me.
Yeah, I like Junior Motorsports. I like the masked drivers of Stuart Haas. I liked reading about them. They're an interesting storyline. I really think, though, I'm with you, but what would be interesting to see is Levine Family Racing go on and win this championship. That'd be something interesting for esports. You've seen Roush Fenway win the iRacing Series championship, the driver they have for that six car. So it'd be kind of cool to see, the smaller team in the real world, but they're kind of even and able to be up there with the bigger teams and talent wise.
Yeah, and I mean Levine family still has yet to win in NASCAR in the Cup Series,
Yeah,
but I mean, wouldn't it just be just as big as one win to win a championship in an esport? Like I think that's even to me. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto couldn't pull it off at Bristol, but their esports guys might do it for him.
yeah, man, that was heartbreaking being there live, watching him run that race. I was pulling for him. It was funny because my son, my 3-year old, he was wearing a Lightning McQueen little outfit, so he was already decked out in the 95 gear. Once I knew Chase couldn't win it, it would have been a cool storyline to have Matt get his first win there while I was there too. Bristol's a monster. That's a monster of a track. It's a monster of an experience. Something I highly recommend if you ever get the chance to make the drive for you, make the drive.
It's funny you'd say that because my cousin and I bought Heat 4, the gold editions on one of the season pass and all that, but it came with the track ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin and I were talking. We're like, well, where do we want to go? You only have this list of options, and the one we picked is the Bristol night race. So I'll be going to Bristol for the first time there next year. Also going back to Kentucky, and then, like I said, Michigan. Whenever Mike lets us know all the details on that. So I'll be going to 3 races next year after going to only my first this year in
Yeah,
terms of
I
the NASCAR series.
I went to my first this year as well. I went to Daytona, the 4th of July race. So that was kind of interesting circumstances. Justin Haley winds up winning it, rain shortened. But and then Bristol was actually my second race, and I'm not lying when I say, I mean, you can go read my article I wrote about it. That's an honest opinion. It's a monster. It's something that once you've been to Bristol, your opinion, so to say, will change completely on NASCAR races live. Because there's not a bad seat in that house. I mean, I don't care if you're sitting on the track. I don't care if you're sitting 40 rows from the top. It's a different monster, so you'll enjoy that.
Yeah. It's kind of odd though. Like, I mean, we've talked before. You've been a NASCAR fan almost your whole life. Same here. Since I was able to look at a TV. But
Yep.
it's funny to me that we both just now went to our first races live. I mean, I've been to dirt track races and stuff. I know that if anyone follows us on Twitter, that was me posting all the things from down there in Portsmouth. But that's just dirt track. When you go to a Cup Series race, it's not as personal, I guess we would put it, but man, it's a force. Like you feel that wind. It's almost like being in a storm whenever they pass you. It's a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean it is. I completely agree. I couldn't have said that any better myself. In all seriousness.
Well, it's a good thing I learned how to talk because I don't write too well.
Hey, that's all right. I enjoy the writing, and see, that's the thing when you got with me about this. Me and Rattlesnake, we've talked about it. We've talked about doing a YouTube series, how we want to get the racing team involved in it, because there's a huge following in racing on YouTube. You can make your own jokes about that. I've heard plenty of jokes about NASCAR fans wanting to watch videos instead of read articles. But I just, I didn't want to do it by myself because it's a lot of work. And as we've learned just fooling with it in the last little bit. But I think that this is a good market. I think racing in general is starting to grow for the younger people.
And where are the young people? They're on YouTube, Twitter, all these places that we're getting into. And I know we're kind of small in the grand scheme of things, but getting on YouTube is a big thing. We were talking about there before the NASCAR YouTubers. There's that post on Reddit there the other day about the guy grading some of them. I guess I don't know if he actually gave him a letter grade, but talking about which ones he liked and stuff. And the one that popped out to me was Black Flags Matter.
Yeah.
I like that. And then Slap Shoes, he's been big here recently because he did the Air Force Speedway guide, in which he was walking through the woods. You never would believe there was a speedway there before, but both of those guys are good. I come from a broadcasting background, so I had critiqued them a lot on how they sounded, like the way they talked and stuff. But
yeah,
that's me, my pet peeves. But there's a big market there. There were several names on there that I'd never even heard of that apparently are big enough that within the NASCAR community, people have hard opinions about them one way or the other. And hopefully we get to that point too, and they're not as negative as some of those we were reading. But that's the goal here, is to try to connect with people on a whole nother platform, I guess would be a way to put it, that we're not on there yet. So that's kind of what our goal is here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We're going to try to do this weekly. I know it's hard. We both work full time. I work 96 or so hours in a 2-week span, so I'm definitely going to be doing my best to put my effort into this as well, because I want to see this. I want to see this grow. I definitely want to get the heat streaming figured out, because I've been playing it pretty hard since it came out. We'll see about getting some of that intro done into this. I've also want to get Rattlesnake, the podcast, chairgating. He's big in our little Belly Up family. I want to get him on here with us, get him talking. I also want to see about getting Dom and maybe some of the other racing guys on here. Dom and Rattlesnake got their own little podcast, and they're pretty opinionated guys, so I think it'd be good to have them on board with us as well.
Yeah, I mean, even for just an episode or two, like we mentioned, it's a big market here for us. But even if we don't do like what you and I are doing right now weekly, where both of us are on it, I plan on at least hopping on once a week on my own, and even if I stream, maybe not necessarily post it, but I think it'd be a good way to interact with everyone who is going to hopefully watch our show. I really have some faith in us. Yeah. But to join in just on the lobbies, I mean, it's hard to find good lobbies there in NASCAR. I'm sure you found that out.
Yeah.
You're either getting wrecked by 30 guys or you're racing with only 3 other people. So, I mean, I've went on some of the other streamers and watched them and then played in their lobbies. And I hope we can get something like that where you got maybe 15 to 20 guys who are actually trying to race. You're going to have the people that are there to ruin the fun, but that's part of it, man. You got to swerve some wrecks and get through to get the dub, and hopefully we're there to get a lobby going and get some people interested in jumping in. Yeah,
no, I completely agree with you for sure. So real quick, before we get off here, I'm going to get off here and go cook some dinner, see about getting this episode up. What do you want to say about where we're going to take this show? We're kind of the smaller guys in the sense of the YouTube community. We've got a pretty established, company with Belly Up that's willing to help us, which I appreciate all those guys. Where do you want to take this as we go forward?
You just did the article with Tommy Joe Martins, and we kind of talked between ourselves about maybe getting him on here. So I'd like to get some of the racers that are involved in it, potentially, even if we go lower level. I mean, we're not above anybody here. I've figured that out, Belly Up. We're open to anyone. So getting in with other YouTubers, having them hop in, kind of streaming with each other, getting involved like that. And we're open to anybody. I mean, as long as you're, a good guy to talk to, we're down with it. Good guy, gal, whatever,
Yeah, we will
get whoever we can involved and make it as big as possible. I mean, this ain't just about you and me. It's a Belly Up thing. It's a community thing. So anyone we can get involved, the more the better.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think that as long as we're open to our fans, to maybe, once we get big and we get a set of established fans, we can include them into this, kind of the streaming and the videos, even the visual type of podcast deals, if you want to call it that. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we can take this somewhere and do something good with it as long as we're both putting our all into it.
And I'm right there with you, man. And I plan on doing as much as I can. And biggest thing is just hopefully people enjoy it, man. I mean, we're going to put out the best we can, but at some point, people just got to hop in. So, if whoever watches this, feel free. My PSN's T_Farley_3. You can add me on there. We can play. Like I said, we're open to just about anything over here, guys.
Yeah, mine's pretty generic. My name's Chris Prince, as I told you earlier, but it's Prince Chris 54. That's my generic gamer tag on PSN. Sorry for all you Xbox guys. You're not gonna be able to play with us if you get into this.
No offense. I don't like Xbox people, I guess.
Yeah,
We're
and then
biased.
even if you want to interact with us on Twitter, my name on there is Prince Chris 54, so you can interact with me on Twitter. I don't mind at all to do that, but you also need to make sure that you're following up our Belly Up Racing page because we've got a lot of good guys contributing to that. Like I've said, me, Trey, you got John, and then you've got Dom, and we've got a big department. I think the racing guys are stepping up, and I think we're really going to need that for this department. And Belly Up is, one to grow.
And we just
So I guess we'll set up a time to do this next week, sir.
And then this gentleman starts your engines, and the pace car pulls away. He may not outrun his heroes, but he'll prove he's here.